my parent couldn't afford me going there, so I had to go work. So luckily I found a job in a bank.
Okay.
So that's where I learned about finance and so on. And then from the bank I went to insurance. I went to work for an insurance company. And that's where I learned about, so I already had the background from the banking side, and then coming into insurance, I started learning about long-term insurance, short-term insurance, and all manner of investments and so on and so on and so on. And then from there, the natural progression was being a financial advisor. Okay, before I even touch a cent,
you budget.
I take pen, paper,
expenses.
Credit, debit. Simple. You don't even have to know what credit and debit is. You just put your salary there,
and the minus.
And then you start expenses, electricity, bond, car, vehicle, entertainment. With the assistance of a financial advisor, you'll also be able to plan around that will. So we call it estate planning. Will you have enough money for your liabilities? Because again, when you die, the bank just doesn't go, oh, he's dead.
He's dead.
It's fine. Let's leave our car that we gave him.
Let's give him a month.
Let's leave the kids that are in that house.
Let's leave
them. Man. Let's leave them in the house. No.
It's business every day.
The bank goes after that house because it's still owing. They're going after those cars. In fact, even if you have a will, by law, creditors have first claim to your estate.
So what mythbusters would you like to give people about, and the misconceptions about money?
Misconceptions about money?
Yeah. Like
about being an advisor, or
like
about money.
Like how to handle money. I think maybe that's like...
I guess, but that's extremely rich.
Okay,
people.
So my mindset is up there. Welcome to Mind, Flow, and Mission with Rirhandzu, the noble one with love. This is a show basically about delving into conversations about your mind and how you flow and your purpose. So today's guest is my dear friend and a financial advisor. His name is Lesego Mogotsi. Welcome, Lesego.
Hey, Ranzi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good, thanks. You look good.
Oh, thank you.
You look great.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
So can you give us like a quick intro about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for the invite, by the way.
You're welcome.
Really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Honored to be here. So I'm a financial advisor. Been a financial advisor for about 15 years. In total, I've got 20 years in the financial industry. I hold a postgraduate diploma in financial planning. I also have a postgraduate diploma in management and wealth management at the same time. So my background is finance. I've been doing this for my adult life, most part of my adult life as a career. I'm a father, and I love tennis. I love sports. I love life. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
So you're a lover of things.
I love things. I love going out. I love meeting new people, new experiences. Yeah,
I know. So
right?
you're a great networker, basically.
That's part of that's the part of our job. You have to be a great networker. Yeah.
All right, Lesego, thank you so much. So what can you tell me about like your mindset in terms of how you get your stuff, like personally, like in an everyday life as a financial advisor or just as a person?
Okay, are we talking money mindset?
Mindset,
Money mindset. Okay. Well, look, money mindset to me is about management. It's about management at large. So it's not about how much you have, it's what you do with what you have. And I will also make reference to the Bible. He who can be trusted with a little can be trusted with much. I mean, from our communities, people, people who will inherit a lot of money.
I know.
And then within a few years, they've squandered that money. And people who have little, but they do a whole lot with it.
Definitely.
So that's my mindset. It's about how do you manage what it is that you have. It's not about what it is that you want, or yes, it's good to want stuff. It's good to want more, but how are you managing what you currently have so that God can bless you with more? So it also relates to money. How do you manage your money? And that's the stuff that we talk about with clients. I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah,
right?
I can relate. I mean, these shows about people blowing money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you'd be like a real good person to actually advise people about those kind. Imagine us blowing money. as your friends. That would be just a shocker.
It will be a shocker, right?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you, what is your take on money mindset?
Yeah, like what you said, like
Yeah.
you have to go back to, because I'm a spiritual girl,
Right.
well, a Christian, so I always go back to the Bible, and it's always about how you save and how you manage money. So I completely agree with you 100%
Couldn't have said it better myself.
regarding money. And yeah, at times we tend to forget that yes, we as Christians or as people, money definitely does make the world go around.
True.
If without it, then you won't be able to move. You won't be able to have
100%.
a flow. You won't be
100%.
able to just go around and doing your daily job or whatever. So yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. Couldn't have said it better.
So what are your like mental blocks like and beliefs about money, or basically like in life when it comes to money?
Mental blocks. Can you expand on that?
Like, you just spoke about people who don't have the skills of managing money. So like limiting, like the
Okay,
limits
okay.
of people.
Okay,
Like
got you.
yeah.
Okay. So again, to that, I'm human as everybody is. I'm also susceptible to the kind of pressures that everybody else is privy to. Like for example, we all want to spend money now. That's why
Yo.
people have debt. You would agree, right?
Yeah,
Right?
we're all in debt, champ.
Exactly. So if you think about anybody's career path when they start working, you don't have all of these debts. You start working, you don't have all of these obligations. So where do they come from all of a sudden? So it's because of the instant gratification, and all these institutions are there to make sure that they can grab some of your money, right? So you have to guard yourself against that. So I was also in my earlier stages. I was also what did I call it? I was also a victim of wanting it now.
Yo.
You
Yeah,
know
we all
exactly.
yeah, we all do it. Especially
Correct.
when we're young.
Correct.
We tend to wanna spend and we wanna show people, hey, I've made it. And even if you haven't made it, listen, our first salary was quite small, but we thought we had made it in life, and then we
Naturally.
didn't have like the financial knowledge
Correct.
for us to actually go about using
Correct.
money correctly.
And also to add to that, depending on what background you're from and so on,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of us, like if you grew up middle class or maybe not so much, you grew up seeing other kids having certain things, certain lifestyles that you wish you could have had. So the moment you start working, you want to also relive or go back to that. I couldn't, when I was a kid, I couldn't get, I'm going to get this, or I couldn't, and now with social media, with people
Yo.
living portraying a certain life, it's even more pressure, right?
So the peer pressure.
The pressure.
Or is it like FOMO?
It's
Or
it's the pressure, because remember, it's the pressure, and also companies go to great lengths to know the psychology of a consumer. So when they market their products, they do it intentionally to get your money. And we are all emotional beings, and when you purchase something, especially if it's on credit and things like that,
Yeah.
it's an emotional purchase, and it's very difficult to manage something like that. So
Yeah.
as you said, a block, that was one of the things that I also had to manage to say, okay, look, how are you going to navigate through, you want stuff now,
Definitely.
but can you afford it?
Is it a matter of us not waiting for the right things, or it's just lack of knowledge, or what do you think it is?
I personally think it is, it's impulse, and it's wanting it now, and it's the emotion behind it. If you get into a brand new car, you think about it. If you've wanted I think you and I
you know
have
what our
spoken
car
about
is,
the car you want. If you get
Do you
inside
wanna tell them what car?
a Porsche Cayenne, just to drive a Porsche Cayenne. So
Yeah.
if you get inside a car like that,
Yeah.
it's gonna build certain feelings of emotion inside of you. Now, whether you can afford it or not,
Yo.
at that point in time, it's
Ish.
irrelevant. And if someone had to come and say, look, we can make a deal for you, take a balloon 30%, move this tree structure, blah, you can get this car. 99% of the time, you're going to buy it because of how it makes you feel, and how other people will perceive you out there in the public. It'll give you that status. So
it's a status thing.
yeah. So those are for me, when you're speaking about block and managing those are the kind of things that I'm trying to guard against, because I've also been a victim of such things.
We
Yeah,
all have.
yeah.
So now, can you quickly tell us about the journey of you becoming a financial advisor or someone in the financial institution?
Okay, so I stumbled on this industry. Like I was, I didn't even know a job like being a financial advisor existed when I was in varsity.
Serious?
Yeah, you know, because when these career guys come at
Like
high
varsity,
school and so on, and then they want to tell you about the opportunities in varsity and so on. It'll always be medicine.
The normal,
the usual,
the usual stuff.
Be a lawyer.
Yeah.
At that time, the hot topic was IT. Remember? Back in
Yes,
our
I
day.
remember when we,
it was.
Hey, we all had that thing.
Yeah,
Let's go into IT.
Everybody, and I also went.
I
that
remember
line.
you. I'm like, actually, when did you pivot from that?
Okay, part of the reason why I had to, the finance was the issue. You know, most of us going to varsity and so on, your parents have to fund that, and long story short, my parent couldn't afford me going there, so I had to go work. So luckily I found a job in a bank.
Okay.
So that's where I learned about finance and so on. And then from the bank I went to insurance. I went to work for an insurance company. And that's where I learned about, so I already had the background from the banking side, and then coming into insurance, I started learning about long-term insurance, short-term insurance, and all manner of investments and so on and so on and so on. And then from there, the natural progression was being a financial advisor. So, and then I took that opportunity. And then being an advisor, because I've always wanted to study, I put myself through school as well. So that was something that a feather in the cap. Yeah.
So you've always been that independent.
Look, if your parents can't take you to school, there's nothing that stops you from getting a job and putting yourself through school. You can't complain about your parents. That's my firm belief,
Because you took a step from, so some people just don't think like that. They just like, always me. Yeah. And then they get stuck. They don't know what to do. But the fact that you thought, you know what, let me get a solution.
Yeah. You know better than anybody. Like in that, definitely. there's always an excuse you can make for whatever situation you're in. And it's a good one.
Yeah.
But hey man, we're not gonna make any. Let's try. Let's and nobody cares, right?
Who cares?
I mean, if you're gonna be a 40-year-old man crying about the fact that they couldn't take you to varsity, who cares now, right? Who cares? No one cares. So what are you? Again, it goes back to man. What are you doing with what you have now? Right? Because then that'll also tell us if you're going to be successful if you had gotten that opportunity in the first place. So think about a guy who says, "I work 2 jobs to put myself through school now." I know for a fact that had he gotten the I can invest in a guy like that if he wants to study, because think about it, he's already showing initiative. He's doing 2 jobs and so on and so on. So yeah. But anyway, someone who's waiting to be given something, they rarely ever achieve anything great. Yeah.
I love that. Can we enter into flow? Because if someone wanted to be like you, like how would they like go about it in the whole flowing? How financial flow and how to get it the way you got it.
I wouldn't look. Okay. So
maybe I can elaborate. Maybe like also into business.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy.
Just a guy.
I can, now that you asked.
Yeah.
What I can say for me personally, one, I'm rooted in Christ.
I love that.
Yeah, it's my faith is important. That's my anchor. Or and when the world it seems
shaky,
a bit dark and I don't know where to go, always go back to the Bible and then start from there and see if I can find my path. It's always that anchor that centers me and so on. And then also you touched on something important. You spoke about, I think I saw it in one of the notes or in our conversation, budgeting.
Yes, so that's the next question actually.
Oh, is it?
So now that you can just go into it, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, so what I always tell my clients is that, and this is where I think we make impulsive decisions, especially purchasing ones.
Yeah.
In that we are emotional beings,
Definitely.
right? And you seeing yourself as an individual, so you want stuff. But I always say to clients, there's a different way of looking at it. If you had to run a company, right? If you were running a business, it'd be fair to say you'd be able to dissociate yourself from the business, right? You would know that That's the business.
And that's
this
personal.
is me. This is personal. And most people are able to pay themselves from the business. They earn their own personal
salary.
income. They don't take everything from the business and say it's mine because the business. No, most people don't.
Mouth.
They don't do that.
No, don't do
right?
that.
And then most people refer to also say that when they start digging in the business, they already know they're doing something that they shouldn't, and so on. And so there's that line that the business is separate, and that is why people are usually able to make rational decisions in their business world, because they know that's the business. If I take from it, it'll not grow, it'll not expand. I'm going to lose money, etc., etc. Right? So the same thing is true with an individual when you're working. You need to be able to dissociate yourself. You must assume that you are Rirhandzu Pty Ltd.
Yeah, you must always take yourself as a business.
You are a business.
Yeah,
right?
you're a brand.
If you're a business, like any business, if I told you that there's a business that we want to invest in, but they don't have financials, they don't know how much is coming in or going into, they don't have an income statement, they don't have a balance sheet, they don't know how their assets from their liabilities. Would you invest in such a business?
No, because they're not interested
correct,
in the
right. You wouldn't invest
in the running of the business.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're incompetent, right? But
it
yet
shows
incompetence, right? And yet, in your ordinary day of life, there are people who don't budget.
Eesh.
The money comes in.
Yeah.
They don't know how much they're spending. They don't know how much their assets from their liabilities. So that speaks to budgeting. It speaks to management. So if you treat yourself like a business, in as much as a business has an income statement, right? Income statement, the income that comes in, expenses, what the business has as money left over. That's what an individual uses as a budget. So that would be your budget, the money, the salary you earn, or all sources of income, your expenses and what's left over. So in any business, if the business has more expenses than the income, that business is headed, it's in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with you. You need to figure out how to better manage the resources. And again, with any business, we look at their balance sheet to figure out, is this a good business, a healthy business or not? What are their assets versus their liabilities and so on? If they've got more assets than liabilities, we already know that's a healthy business and the likelihood of growth, etc. Same thing with an individual. We need to be able to look at your assets versus your liabilities. You need to be in a surplus and you need to manage that kind of stuff. So that's what that's my...
No, you are not. Yeah, you're very, very insightful. So
Thank
now
you,
I want to
you.
just talk about the tools that you use, like in terms of budgeting or just having that way of dealing with money on a monthly basis. You have?
I'm old school.
You're old school.
People have fancy spreadsheets and whatnot. You can do that.
Yeah.
Like
a routine. Like I want like a routine that you do. Like
it's simple. Most people, like I said, will go into that. Nowadays, especially with technology, you can go into a website and say a budget spreadsheet. It's there, it's free. You could then start doing your budget. I'm old school. Look, when I get paid, before I even touch a cent,
you budget.
I take pen, paper,
expenses.
Credit, debit. Simple. You don't even have to know what credit and debit is. You just put your salary there,
and the minus,
and then you start expenses. Electricity, bond, car, vehicle, entertainment.
Definitely.
And be realistic about how much you want to spend on entertainment.
You cannot be entertaining more than you are living. Come on.
Exactly. And then once you get your total expenses, you just deduct that from your salary and what you have is your surplus. And then you must try to discipline yourself to be within that budget. How do you do it, Chomi?
Nah, I also have a budget tool. I've been using it. I'm very...
Which one is that one?
My sister, remember she worked at a bank?
Yes,
I also worked at a bank once upon a time. She sent me a budget tool that I use. So whenever there's money, I know, like I'm very frugal, hey?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there's like money for this, money for that.
Yeah,
sometimes I'm like, yo.
I don't think you've ever bought me coffee or anything.
I've never bought you coffee. I'm a woman.
A chocolate.
Oh, you want me to buy you a coffee?
Well, we friends. I've bought you a whole lot of...
So you want the 50-50?
Not a 50-50, we now should get like a chomp.
I don't believe in 50-50.
Or a lolly.
You just said, Muswana, you're a biblical man. You want me to spend money on you, Aibo.
That speaks to your husband. We are friends here.
Even better, friends. Friendship is always like close to...
It's one-sided.
You mean that our friendship is one-sided?
Yeah, like...
I don't... Okay, I'll buy you coffee.
It's fine. We'll
but
talk about that.
I bought you cool drink today.
No, thank you, friend.
Bravo.
You know, it's...
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
you see? Yeah.
Okay.
But, now let's get into mission. So how do
Okay.
you
What's my
go?
mission?
Yeah, what's your mission like when it comes to like financial
Okay, so
advice?
in the job that we do, I take it seriously in that I believe we can make changes, and my mission is that uh, I want to help eradicate poverty in
I
our
love
communities, right? And most people think that the people that have money did that only through businesses and this and that, the other. That, in as much as that's true, that's not the truth for the vast majority of people, because we're not going to all be millionaires. Millionaires are a small, minute percentage of the population. So the easiest way to leave an inheritance, again, I go back to the Bible. The Bible says,
the inheritance.
all right, a good man leaves an inheritance
Amen.
for your children. So are you leaving an inheritance? That means you're not a good man. I'm not saying that. The Bible says
and
that.
you need to follow what the Bible says.
It says a good man leaves an inheritance. Now, if you're working a 9 to 5 and you already have obligations, commitments, what are the likelihood that you'll be able to leave millions and so on to your children? It's highly unlikely. But in the world that we're living in now, you don't have an excuse. Life insurance is so cheap. You can get life insurance. We can help you get it. And then you don't have to worry about an inheritance, because that life insurance, we all going to die. We all going to die. We all going to die no matter what we do. So if that's an eventuality, then you are able to leave an inheritance through a life insurance, and you can go about your business. That's it.
Yeah, you did delve into like helping the community and stuff like that. So I know that you're into like financial freedom.
Yes.
And maybe people don't know much about wills and stuff like that. So how do you think we can help like the youth and women? Okay. I don't know if that's an area that you're interested in, or just like above everyone.
I think it relates to everyone in general, right? In that it goes to what we've spoken about, life insurance and so on. That's part of estate planning. So when you're talking about wills, it's a very important,
it's very
especially in our communities.
We don't have that.
People don't have wills, because how you know this? You'll seek houses with written family home, not for sale. Not for sale.
Not for sale.
You know,
inheritance. That's what you spoke about, like the whole inheritance
so
thing.
that means the whoever the owner of that house was, he left it, or she left a mess. That could have all been, it could have been solved easily through a will to state who gets what and how. And then with the assistance of a financial advisor, you'll also be able to plan around that will. So we call it estate planning. Will you have enough money for your liabilities? Because again, when you die, the bank just doesn't go, oh, he's dead.
He's dead.
It's fine. Let's leave our car that we gave him.
Let's give him a month.
Let's leave them. The kids that are in that house.
Let's leave
them. Man. Let's leave them in the house.
It's business every day.
The bank goes after that house because it's still owing. They're going after those cars. In fact, even if you have a will, by law, creditors have first claim to your estate before anybody. Before the inheritance. So you can put your kids, you can put your pastor, you can put your mother, you can put them all in line. But if you've got debt, it doesn't matter. Your creditor has claim first to that estate, and then everybody else can share whatever's left, if there is anything left. So, and wills are free. So there is no, I think maybe it's lack of knowledge, education, etc. It's upon us through the platform that you have. So, kudos to you. Now, somebody will watch this and know something that they didn't know. Yeah.
So now what advice would you give? I mean, you already delve into that. Like, what advice would you give people to have wills? Because I know you've spoke about people coming to your business and speaking about wills. So how, I don't think people actually know where to go. Okay. And I think the right questions, because as I'm a black person, so most people think wills are like expensive and like it's something that's not like we don't talk about that. So like how would you advise people from changing that mindset?
Okay, so if you've got a banking account, you have access to a will. 99% of people have banking accounts. How else do you get your money? So whoever you bank with, I've worked at various banks. Most banks will offer you a will for free, especially if you bank with them. But there's a catch. The catch is they will be the executor on the estate. So they will...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the banks.
So what an executor does,
Yeah.
they will administer that estate. They will ensure that whatever you've put or bequeathed to whomever, that will be handled. So they're gonna charge an executor's fee for doing that
For
job.
doing that,
So either way,
you still need to pay.
you're gonna have to have an executor. So it's a win-win. You get to have a free will with whoever you bank with,
Definitely.
but you can come to me. I also
like
offer
that.
free wills, and I'll give you free financial advice. So, so yeah, you can go to your bank and they can offer you a will. But I would, I would, I would suggest that you do it through a financial advisor. The reason is, I would be able to give you the advice as well in drafting that will. That okay, look, this will is not going to be. We're not going to be able, or whoever's going to be able, whoever's going to be the executor is not going to be able to execute your instructions. So the reasons are there's not enough liquidity, there's not enough money, maybe there's a lot of debt, maybe there's this. So as a financial advisor, it goes hand in hand with estate planning. We are able to plan your, let's call it your estate, and say, okay, fine, yes, you have a will, but these are the other things that you need in order for this will to be executable. That kind of stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
So what mythbusters would you like to give people about, and the misconceptions about money, mula?
Misconceptions about money.
Yeah, like
About being an advisor, or
like
about
money, like how to handle money. I think maybe that's like.
I guess, with the misconception, I think is that you need to, like what we touched on, that people always assume that they need more money.
More money, yeah.
But if you go to the root of it, it's their behavior that's the
so
problem.
we
And
need to check people's behavior.
that's
Yo,
exactly
and that's difficult, hey?
exactly. So
Yo.
that's the misconception, is your behavior around money, that is important, rather than how much money you can make. Because if you got bad money management skills, if I give you more money, that doesn't
Not
go
gonna
away.
help. Yeah, it's still a bad habit.
It's still, you still have that problem.
Yeah.
And now all we're doing is that we're giving you more money to squander.
So basically, we're making more money, more problems.
More money, more problems. Right. And if you've got good money management habits, I give you more money. You still have those good money management habits. Likelihood is that you're going to grow your wealth, you're going to increase. So for me, that's the biggest myth about money.
Okay, and also this myth about people that have money, that they're stingy. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing to have as a trait?
Good question. Look.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard
I've heard
this.
that.
Yeah.
And
like people will be like, yo, they're very frugal. So I think I'll probably make a good billionaire since I'm so frugal.
Okay, here's my thing. When people say rich people are stingy or frugal, yes, they manage their money well, but don't get it twisted. They spend their money.
They spend it.
Who's buying all these things
lavish,
that are expensive? Ferraris, Lamborghinis, in the mansions and all. It's not, what is it, poor people? No, it's not. It's rich people that are buying these things. So I think they manage their money better, and they're able to, in order for them to maintain their wealth. So what they do versus a poor mindset, poor people or people with bad money management skills, they use their income to buy all of these luxuries and all of that. Exactly.
Okay.
Where rich people would first invest, and then let their investments buy their toys and all of these things that they enjoy. Wow. So that's the
like a
difference.
Balance.
Yes, that's the difference. Yeah. So the rich will start first by putting in the work, investing first, right?
Like a trust.
Well, trust is something else. Just
investments.
So there are various types. You can invest in assets, equities, etc. So there are various types. Yeah. So they typically put their money. So you're right in the beginning.
Dr. McScrooge.
Yes. So they are frugal in the beginning. They watch their budget closely. And they keep their expenses very low, and they grow their income. While growing their income, they invest their money.
That is a good thing to have.
And then once their money is invested, they've got a nice nest egg. They've got a lot of money or whatever, or their business, or whatever it is that they've invested in. Then that investment now starts buying all these toys, the cars, the vacation homes, all of these things.
And I've noticed, like, even with the buying of cars, it's not like your regular cars. They've got like these investment like your
True.
those nice cars that are like
Exotic and
or classic.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes. But that's extremely rich
okay.
people.
So Mina, my
That's-
mindset is up there. So do you have like a special book that you read, or besides the Bible?
Okay.
Do you read or do you watch like a special thing, like a tool that you use, like besides for you to increase the knowledge about financial advising
Okay.
or just how to handle money?
Okay. The book that I can recommend, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
one of the go-to books. If you want to learn anything about money management skills in a way that is not complicated, they don't use, it's simple English. Go get that book. It's a small book. That's all. Everything you ever need to know about how to manage money
It's there.
is in that book. And then you can buy other books just to maybe get an in-depth understanding on other things about investing. How does it work? Where do I invest? Blah blah blah. Then there are other books but that's start with that book. It'll set everything up for
I
you
love
nicely.
that.
Thanks.
So where can our listeners find you or connect with you? I mean, you're giving so
Yes,
much
yes.
insight. They want to know, like,
You
yo,
know,
this guy
I'm not.
is so.
And here's the
I know
funny
you're not
thing.
on social media.
I'm not even on
Ooh,
social media. I am, but so
It's not for that.
My handle is Mogotsi 09 or Mogotsi 9 on Instagram, and then my Twitter account.
You don't know. You've
I
changed it.
I changed my handle because it used to. So I had my Twitter when I was a very young man, and at the time it used to be Pretty Boy less. So can't be
Pretty
going around.
boy.
I can't
Yes,
be
you're
going
pretty
around
boy.
using that. So I changed it, and now I don't know. But if people want to reach out to me, I don't know. You can put something at the bottom of the screen. There, my number. It's on. Yeah.
But I think maybe you should create. I mean, with so much knowledge, don't you want to like create a business?
Okay, so but I can give out my email address.
Yes, please.
This is the best one.
Yeah, I think that's the best. I mean, people want to know. I mean, I'm gonna.
Yep.
Well, I'm already your.
Right? Okay. lesego.mogotsi@gmail.com.
All right.
Okay, so it's my first name dot my surname at gmail.com. That's LESEGO.MOGOTSI@gmail.com.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lesego,
It's a
for
pleasure.
this wonderful, wonderful.
All right. I've
time.
enjoyed my time. We had a good
Yeah,
conversation.
so-
You look great.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
And you know what? I really appreciate you taking your time to come speak to me
Anytime.
and
for
our
you.
listeners.
Anytime.
And I'm sure they're gonna want you to come back. We never know.
I'd be more
Depending
than happy to be
on
invited
how
back.
they actually
Right?
receive it, but I have a good feeling about this.
Right?
Yeah,
All
I
right,
do. I really
cool.
appreciate it.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
So
you.
listeners, thank you so much for joining us. For next time, please follow us on our socials, Mind, Flow and Mission with Rirhandzu. And then on YouTube, it's Mind, Mission and Flow. Thank you till next time.